I'll go ahead here and share the screen. We'll kind of touch on this screen, on this slide, and really touch on the idea of really using the integration to our advantage, and how really most of the day-to-day can remain within the actual SmartAdvocate platform for your staff. And so I'll share my screen here real quickly. Paul kind of hit the nail on the head there, right? Creating more operational efficiency is key here, both internal and external for your staff and your client. And a big part of that is going to be the actual integration with SmartAdvocate. So to set the stage, we can see that I have case status pulled up here on the right side of the screen. And then this is going to be exactly what it looks like for the staff member. And then over on the left is going to be what it looks like for the client. I also have SmartAdvocate here pulled up so that we can get a general understanding of really how, again, most of the day-to-day can remain within SmartAdvocate while taking advantage of again, the horsepower that is case status. And so we can see through the mobile application version of the platform, really the answer to, the number one question that clients tend to have, right? Which is what's going on with my case? What's my status? What's happening? I can see that I'm on an auto accident. I have a couple of checklist items here of things that need to happen. My current status is released from treatment. If I hit this more button, I can, see a nice overview of what exactly is happening in the stage of the case to really have a nice feel for what is going on. And then a nice visual aid below as to where I stand on my client journey. Really, that's what we're all about here at Case Status, is the client journey, giving clients this access that they've never truly had before and making sure that they have the access from start to finish. And so as a client can view their current status of the case, we really want to make sure we walk them through what that client journey looks like from beginning to end, and then have that actually tied up with the SmartAdvocate environment. So as a client, I can see that step one was treatment. We can see, thanks for trusting us to handle your case. Here's a link to our welcome video. 2, which is where I'm at now, is released from treatment. But if I wanted to look ahead, 3 is attorney review, 4 negotiation, 5 settled, 6 escrow, and then case closed. Now, really setting this up for your client is a huge lever to creating more operational efficiency, because now clients could essentially answer their own questions. We're going to be building this muscle memory for your client to log in as opposed to calling in, which is going to be decreasing a good amount of those inbound phone calls that are coming into the firm. And then really setting expectations from day one is crucial, right? We find firms that tend to answer a client's question, the client calls back maybe the following week or the following day and asks again that, what's going on, or asks to, staff to repeat themselves. And so really providing this peace of mind for the client has shown a huge increase in operational efficiency by fielding a number of these phone calls and questions that a client may have. Now, the operational efficiency piece on the internal side of things is really going to be taking advantage of the integration to SmartAdvocate. Now, these two cases are tied to each other, so the client and the staff firm. The big key here is just making sure we eliminate as much double entry as possible. You create a case in SmartAdvocate, it's going to automatically create the case in the case status. Now, what we also want to do is really focus on what case types you have within SmartAdvocate and map those specific phases in the status description to the phases that are in case status, right? If I go to SmartAdvocate and I look at my description and my statuses, we can have a number of phases that are on here that are more internal. It may just confuse the client a little more, where we don't want to let them know whenever everything changes. But what I can do is I can create these custom rules to say, when I move to demand in SmartAdvocate, I want it to automatically update in case status to move to the next stage of the case. And I can show you what that looks like as we go to show you what it looks like on the spot. Now, our cases sync every night, or you can go into case status and sync it on demand, which is what I'm doing now. But you'll see that as I refresh this, the client's going to get notified that they've moved on to stage 3 as we've made that change in the actual SmartAdvocate environment. So you look at this from an operational efficiency standpoint. When it comes to the day-to-day operations, your staff members are going about their day-to-day, handling what they're normally handling within SmartAdvocate, and not necessarily having to worry about going into case status to make that change, because we create that rule. So really working with SmartAdvocate to create more of a seamless approach so that we're not, again, going back and forth between two different platforms. This obviously can fit for any type of practice area case type that you guys typically handle, right? It can be any sort of mass tort case, any subcategory of a auto accident, family, tort specific, immigration, really anything that you practice, we can create stages for, so that as a client, I can see what that stage looks like as it relates to my case. Now, the next real big piece to creating more operational efficiency is going to be centralizing communication, right? Eliminating this ambient omni-channel mix of communication through phone calls, emails, text messaging. Hopefully staff members aren't giving out their personal cell. Hopefully none of you all are giving out your personal cell, but really having one location for the client, but then one location for the staff as well. So from a client perspective, I'm going to have access to this messages tab where I'm going to receive every single message, every update, every document image here on the messages tab. One of the beauties with the application, and I know I just kind of touched on that 70, 85% adoption, is that other 15, 20% of people that do not download case status are still going to receive everything via text message, where they can just text you right back and forth. So all they're doing is either going through the application, hitting send a message, or texting you their response. We can type our message out. We can add any sort of images or videos or media files or PDFs or anything, so that once I send that message, the client, the staff members will then get notified within SmartAdvocate that that message has come through. Our messages are going to be syncing back into SmartAdvocate every 2 minutes. And then our documents are going to be syncing back into SmartAdvocate every 20 minutes. So that really SmartAdvocate remains the single source of truth, but again, taking advantage of everything that case status comes to especially when it comes to that front-end technology and front-end experience, again, that clients aren't used to receiving. So we can see here that our messages are going back into the notes section. We can see that message that I just sent there as the client, so that it's all looking into notes, and the documents are going to be going back into the documents tab specifically. Now, staff members obviously need to respond back every now and again. We're going to talk about what that looks like from an automation standpoint, but the idea is the same. We want to set it up for staff members to remain within SmartAdvocate, send a message out to the client where the client still receives the message via the case status platform. So we've taken advantage of the notes section within SmartAdvocate, where I could essentially create a new note within the actual case. It's going to give me the information to add a note, so that once I send my message, I can use this shared in client portal button, which will then recognize that the firm is using case status, so that whatever message is sent, whatever link, whatever template or type of message will get sent to the client through the platform if you select the shared in client portal option. So we look at that again internally as this one-stop shop, while most of the day-to-day remains in the SmartAdvocate instance, and clients taking advantage of that, again, front-end experience. Now, we've talked a little bit about creating this efficiency through messaging and updates and happening automatically. We really want to truly help automate enough of your messaging so that we have these messages working for you in the background, but also provide a nice personal approach. And so if I go back into case status and go to the settings here, we're going to touch a little bit about kind of what the automations can look like. So I'm going to my practice area settings. Again, we're going to be getting the case type from SmartAdvocate, where all we're doing is creating the client-facing stages that we want the client to see. But we're also going to be able to create the automations that are living within these stages, so that clients can get that automatic response and that personal touch point. Some of our automation templates can be the no case change, the very famous no update that I'm sure everyone here is very used to making, whether it be via phone call or email. We can automate this message so that we can see it only gets sent if nothing is happening on the case after a specific amount of time. Clients can get the message weekly, monthly, twice monthly, letting them know, hey, we're working on the case, no updates to report. If you have any questions, to just on case status. This becomes a nice safety net for the firm. This is a nice complementary tool for a 30, 60, 90-day check-in call to really provide a touch point to the client when they're usually not hearing from the firm via phone calls or emails. We want to make sure this automation is personable as possible and have messages live in specific stages of the case. So I can set up this automation to only get sent in the treating phase, but what I can then do is then move the case from released from treatment and have the message say something entirely different. Now it's a little bit more dynamic when it comes to the messaging. We can have the frequency of the message get sent a little more often if it's a longer stage in the case, so that clients don't view this as an automatic message. It's more of a personal touch point sent to them all through the application, right? As we're going through this, you can notice that the application is only going to get stickier. Clients are going to be viewing their current status, viewing all the messages, viewing the process from start to finish, all in one location. Another big piece to the automation is really going to be messaging based off of net promoter scores. I saw that as some of the responses for business outcomes is client satisfaction. Really, this concept of measuring client satisfaction is huge. We don't want to wait until the end of the case to send a review or a referral. We want to know how clients are feeling throughout the entirety of the case. So as a case is moving from stage to stage, and that is essentially our trigger in the platform, is when it goes from one stage to the next, your client is going to be required to rate their experience from a 0 to 10 net promoter score. So it actually pops up there on the app where the client has to enter in a score, and then they also have the option to leave any sort of feedback. Now, this information isn't going anywhere. It's staying here for the firm only, where certain staff members can have access to it. But now the firm has access to this hard, concrete data that you may have not had before to look for more opportunities for the reviews, for the referrals, or just general insight. I can now go back to my automations, create very simple rules tied to my promoters, right? All of my 9 and 10s in these 3 stages of the case automatically gets a message with my Google Business account, my Apple link, my Super Lawyer link. Where on the flip side, I can say, well, all of my detractors, my 7s or below, in every single stage of the case, automatically gets a message letting them know, hey, it looks like we weren't able to meet your expectations. We apologize. What's going on? So this insight is huge, right? Because now we can celebrate the lower scores, right? If we can get a low score early on in the case, we can convert that into a positive score by the end of the case. But then more importantly, we can micro-target and strike while the iron's hot. Why wait until the end if we have the data to support that a client is essentially going to give us the review a lot sooner? And the same goes for referrals. We want to fortify the word of mouth, make it extremely easy for your clients to refer you to friends and family members. And so clients are going to have access to a Your Team tab that will show them every single staff member that's working on the case. We can see that there's a little bit more of a personable approach, right? We have the picture, the phone, the email, the bio of all of the attorneys and case managers. Staff members can add videos to a personal video of themselves, add a link to a Calendly or anything along those lines. But the main attorney on the case is going to have this refer function on here, so that as staff, as a client, all I have to do is just hit this refer button. It's going to pull all of this info into a contact card, so I can send it as a text, as an email, as a note to really whoever I want. And so making that word of mouth even easier, looking for more opportunities when it comes to creating these automations so that it doesn't always have to be tied to a review, but instead a referral. We have a number of firms that have really taken advantage of this automation specific for client satisfaction. Firm out in Philadelphia that's seen an 800% increase in Google reviews just by giving them this access to the data, because before it was just kind of a guesswork. And then we have another firm in Connecticut that saw a 300% increase in referrals just by, again, viewing the team of what's going on with their case.
That's incredible, Jose. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we do have some questions that are stacking up, and I'm chomping at the bit to incorporate them into your demo. Is now an okay time to throw a few your way?
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, I'm going to go in the order in which they came in. So my first question is around the views you're showing. So we talked a little bit about in the research about browser-based versus app-based. So what you're showing on the right versus the left, I believe the person is pointing out the left is an app, correct? That's your iPhone. The right
Correct.
is actually showing a browser. So can you talk a little bit about app versus browser for the client and app versus browser for the staff? Because I think we have we have both. And again, you're kind of simulating sitting at a desk in the office, right? I think that's what you're
showing. Yeah, can definitely do that. So again, Paul had kind of mentioned this idea of app versus portal. And I think the big differentiator between having the case status mobile application is that adoption, right? And the big key to that adoption is how easy it is for the client to download case status. And so think of an Uber, think of a Venmo. We want to provide that same ease of use for the client to download an app, but and have that barrier to entry as low as possible. And so a client actually gets an invite text message letting them know that they're using the case status platform. The firm could essentially have any sort of welcome message that they'd like to add on there. That includes a link to the App Store. The client downloads the application. It redirects them straight to the case status mobile application. They download the application, and then all they need to do is enter their cell phone number, a verification code, and that is it. No need for any sort of emails or passwords or extra credentials. We've done the research enough to know that you're dealing with a client that may not necessarily remember what those credentials are. They may not be checking their email often. They may not even have access to a computer, but they definitely have a cell phone or a smartphone.
Yeah, I was going to comment the fact that we have both an app portal and a browser portal for the client, right? And the research says that 93% of the time a consumer spends is in the apps. We give them both options at case status, right? And which one do they go for? You just showed 80% are downloading the app, right? So if you want like a blind taste test or a double blind sort of test of what's going on, like I can't think of one that's better to show where they migrate because of the ease of use, because of the utility, everything that you So do the staff have an app as well? Can they have an app experience for some of the tools?
Yes, they can. So we do have the application for staff members. The system will recognize that as a staff member of the firm that logging into the application that will actually show them a list of the cases that they are assigned to.
Awesome.
And so it's perfect for the staff member on the go, perfect for any sort of extra notifications. And really it's eliminating that second phone a lot of staff members have, the personal cell phone number, and provides just more efficiency with centralizing all this communication.
Awesome. Next question is around the automations that you were showing. Everybody loves the idea that the machine is, we think about it, set it up, and we run it as an assembly line in the background. So the question is, who normally does that? Is that like the caseworkers or the staff attorneys, or is that admin staff? Like who typically is doing those, sort of bigger design setups, Jose, in your experience?
Yeah, great question. We find a number of firm admins usually taking advantage of creating the actual automations on behalf of the firm, where really as you're going through implementation, a number of these automations will be set for you as best practice, will connect with the admin or whoever's in charge of creating these automations so that really it could be working for you in the background, where as you're creating this, again, you're going about your day-to-day knowing that these automated messages are going to get sent. This is where, case status may look a little different based off of the staff member using it, right? If you're a paralegal or a case manager that is essentially just communicating back and forth, and really most of your day-to-day is going to live here in SmartAdvocate. Now, if you're a firm admin and you're in charge of creating these automations and more into the operational piece of it, that's where you can then have access to case status, view the automations and the journeys. You could always tweak and edit and add as you get implemented and optimized.
Yep, perfect. And the other question was about brand. So I just want to make sure we call it out that when you were, when we're in the app, what the client sees, right? They're able to do colors and their own logo, right? Like it's branded for the firm, the app is, correct?
It is correct. So we can see the SmartAdvocate logo here on the application with that background. just what we have, kind of our SmartAdvocate instance.
That's
but
like our
just
test.
know that
That's our test instance, right? So this is just the fact, right? Okay, so it doesn't normally say SmartAdvocate if you're a SmartAdvocate.
Correct.
Yeah, that just happens to be. That's where the brand of the law firm. Perfect.
So it will have your firm's logo, your firm color scheme on the mobile application. I always like to think of it as an extension of the law firm. It's an experience that clients aren't really used to receiving. It's a nice differentiator, especially if you're in an area where there are a number of firms out there. And like I mentioned earlier, really matches today's day and age, especially with everyone relying on apps more often than not. Your client has your firm dedicated mobile application.
Okay.
Yeah, I think what we find more often than not is our firms that are really taking advantage of the status and the process to really make sure they have all the information that a client tends to ask about, right? Where we can add supplemental material. We're really walking client through what that stage and journey looks like. That can always be edited, simplified, or detailed out. Another piece of best practice that we find our firms taking advantage of are the videos, where a number of our firms are actually include video material in each stage of the case to really give them more information as to what's going on, where it's a little bit more palatable to the client, a little more digestible. And I think it's really the partnership approach as well, where this becomes the new standard for clients to receive updates, to get messages sent out. And so if clients know that this is the only location to reach out, then they're obviously going to find themselves logging in constantly.
Makes sense. Yeah, and I think for my take on it, it is it's not a map of everything that's going on in the back office, right? I use the big metaphors of back office and front office. We're not exposing everything that's going on. I could see that creating a lot of questions, but in the setup or in the implementation, we're specific about what we want to show and why, right? Because that's instilling confidence in the client about where they are. They're on the journey. They're on the green path, right? And I think so. It's not just that we show that window. We're being selective as a law firm of what we're showing. Correct, Jose?
Yeah, and it's really creating that rule set that we set up through implementation of, well, let us know what your statuses and stages look like in SmartAdvocate, and what's worth actually showing the client. Right? Again, a lot of these statuses or stages might just be too much information for them, where it may cause more questions. It's complementing SmartAdvocate by providing the client-facing piece of it, of really the information, the only information that you want them to know.
Perfect. All right, cool. Well, I'll bring us home then, Jose. Appreciate it. Great job. So the demo is behind us. We got through the Q&A all while we had the screen up, and I think that was helpful because giving visual answers a lot of times and showing and repointing out a few things to the questions always helps. So at this point, I'd just like to say thank you for the time. If you want to take that next step of evaluating how this would look like for your firm, right? Like the demo that Jose just showed is just a taste, right, of high level things. If you want to take a look at the use cases and the impact that we can make, again, business outcomes is what this is all about. Adoption, you want it to be high. You want to know that they're there if you're going to get the consolidation of frontline tech, right? You want to know that you're knocking out those same questions so that your likelihood of delight starts to go up. You want the staff to be happier and more efficient because they're not answering that question, right? Guess what? There's the opportunity cost. They can get back to work and doing their thing. So if we want to look at that for your specific firm, I know Jose and the solutions consultants on the team, love to take the very specific use cases, how you've applied the awesome power that is SmartAdvocate into your firm, and how we can leverage that again to expose the right things so that your client, whether it's 3 a.m. on a Sunday morning, right? They wake up, they're sweating, they're just anxious, they're thinking about all the things that are riding on this. And what a great way to reassure them that A, they hired the right team, that B, they're on track right where they need to be, right? And that you're going to bring them home to that great outcome. That's what it's all about. And I know that the team is excited and ready to have that conversation. So either type in that address, or if you're like me, pull out your smartphone, go to the camera, use the QR code